just started using a new recording software. I don't know if you heard of OBS, but it's like apparently like what a lot of like the Twitch streamers use and everything. But it's like they have like a recording feature. I'm like, this is perfect. So it's like you can add like different filters and everything. So it's like I can turn the volume up super loud for like you and me, and I can even it out just like with noise gates and everything, just like with you with a guitar. So
Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah, I've
yeah,
heard of OBS. I've never used it, but that's awesome, man.
yeah. So I got two audio tracks, one for you, one for me. All good. We're grooving now. We're groovy.
Awesome, man.
Oh,
Thanks for having me on.
yeah, no, it looks like you got a sweet guitar set behind you. I see the black guitar with the whammy bar on it that you played at XPK. That was a sweet guitar, dude.
Thank you, man. Yeah, that's my main guitar. It's a Gibson Les Paul Access. Have you heard of that model before?
No, I'm not. I actually have a Gibson Les Paul Tribute. Where is it at? Right here, right in my
Oh,
rack.
okay.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Yeah, they're great guitars. It's I've always kind of been a Les Paul guy, but I like having the whammy bar too. I like going a little nuts with that. So it was kind of the best of both worlds, I guess. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's like my main touring guitar.
Yeah, does that have a nut lock on it?
It does. Yeah, it has a Floyd Rose.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the other nice thing about it, man, is it doesn't go out of tune. Like Gibsons are kind of
Yeah.
notorious for going out of tune on stage. So with that, like
Oh,
you
yeah.
can just you barely have to tune it. Like I tune it at the beginning of the show. That's it.
Yeah. So I'm like, for your playing style, for those who don't know, it's like you are very shreddy, very abusive with bends and everything. I love it
Mhm.
personally, but it's like I can't do that on my Gibson because it's just a hardtail or whatever you want to call it style of regular Gibson bridge.
You can get them. You can set them up so they stay in tune. It just takes a lot of work. Like I do that for a lot of my buddies' guitars. Like you can see, I have that gold top. Sorry, other way,
Yeah.
right behind me. That's like another guitar I use. I use that for recording a lot, but you just have to really make sure that everything's perfectly intonated, and you really have to stretch the strings a lot. Like if you kind of
Yeah.
overstretch the strings, it helps. Also, you can put pencil lead in the nut, so like when you bend strings, it doesn't get a lot of the time with hardtail bridges. Like that's why they go out of tune. It's at the nut, like it doesn't slide back into place perfectly. So if you can kind of lubricate that, I just use pencil lead. They make some actual stuff specifically made for that, but pencil seems to work fine. Like that helps. You can get them to stay in tune. It just takes work.
Yeah. So do you work on all your own guitars then?
Usually, for major stuff, I go to a guy named Mark Wenninger in Detroit. He just did that black guitar before we left on tour. That had a fret level, so he did that for me. It was kind
Nice.
of like way overdue, just from kind of abuse, I guess. But major stuff like that, I take to a luthier. But as far as like setups, like setting up the action and stuff, yeah, I usually do it myself. Just because I don't know when it comes to that, it's like so personal. I don't know. I just feel like
Yeah.
I just want to get it exactly how I want it.
Yeah.
And I set my action like crazy low, so it's kind of a little bit unconventional. So yeah, I usually just do the fine tuning at home.
Yeah. Well, for your playing style, having that action like super low, I think another shredder in the community, not like what would you call your style of music? I wouldn't say it's really metal.
I'd just say just like rock, hard rock. I think sometimes it borderlines on metal, but I don't know. Yeah, a lot of it is like melodic. Like I do a lot of the
Yeah.
two-hand tapping, clean stuff, but it goes from really clean and pretty to super heavy and shred based. So
Yeah.
a little bit of everything. But for that particular style of guitar, like the tapping, one of the biggest things is you have to have low action, especially if you're doing it live.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Jason Richardson has notoriously low and loose strings too for all of his shreddy stuff too.
Yep, I believe that.
Yeah. I have a Mexi Strat right here that has pretty notorious low tuning on it too. That's my baby. That's probably my main axe. If I would say I got a couple six strings and then a seven string Ernie Ball Sterling. But what do you got behind you that I couldn't even tell you which one it is, but it looks like an eight string or seven string. The brownish
Um,
one.
Yep, that's an eight-string guitar. It's a one of a kind. It was built by my friend Dave Nasrati. The company's called King Custom Guitars. But I got that thing maybe like 8 or 9 years ago. He built it just as a one-off, and I use it a lot for recording. Like all the heavy tune guitars on all my records and stuff is that guitar. I haven't written a song like that specifically features it, I guess, because I'm a little bit nervous about looking down live
Yeah.
and seeing eight strings and having to deal with that. But for recording, I use it all the time. It's a really good sounding guitar.
Yeah, that thing looks freaking wicked, man. I mean, because it's like it reminds me of like the bossy guitars, but like kind of its own design though. I don't
It's
know.
a, it's its own design. I know he based it on. There's a bass builder named Sean May in Detroit, and it's based on some of his bass designs, like the shape of the body and like the neck joint and all that. But it's definitely like its own thing. Um, yeah, it's a really wicked guitar, man. It sounds great. That's the thing. Like it's sometimes like those like 7 and 8 string guitars, they sound different than like a traditional Les Paul or something, as they're supposed to. But
Yeah,
that one sounds really really good.
yeah.
It's a cool guitar, man.
How are the pickups on it? Because like with my 7 string, I still find it like the low end's kind of muddier than what
Yeah.
you would with like a 6 string.
That has, I think it's they're DiMarzios in it. I'm not sure exactly what model, whatever the 8 string model was like 8 years ago. That thing was built a while ago, kind of like before
Yeah,
bossy guitars and all those started getting more popular. But it's clear in the low end. I actually for the eighth string, I actually use a bass string on the bottom. Um, which is kind of helps it. Like that the
yeah,
scale of the neck is it keeps it tight, but I just kind of made a custom set for it so when you're tracking, uh
yeah,
it's still punchy, you know, because that's one thing with 8 strings. Sometimes that the low 2 strings can get a little floppy on you and it'll go out of tune. But
yeah,
with that one, no, it stays. I forget what gauge bass string I used, but that kind of helps keep it punchy and tight.
yeah. So which guitars do you take touring with you? Was it the gold and black one?
I have that. The Les Paul was the main guitar, and then I have a Friedman guitar that's in the other room. It's a Friedman NoHo 24. It's like a super strat. And on this tour, I only brought 2 guitars, just those two.
Yeah.
So I'm one of those guys, man. I only like playing one guitar on stage, you know? Like I don't
Oh
really
yeah.
like switching. It kind of gets me out of the zone or something every time I have to switch guitars. But so for my like instrumental stuff, I use those two mainly. And then I have a band called Pharaohs as well that we're just kind of getting off the ground. And for that band, I use the gold top. But
Nice.
it's all the same rig. Just I just switch the guitar out or whatever.
So what genre would you say Pharaohs is?
Probably like alternative rock. The singer, it's just kind of like a traditional 4 piece rock band, but our front man's named Cam Clark. I met him like kind of at the beginning of COVID. Like the band kind of started during COVID during the lockdown, but he's just unbelievable, man. Like we just finished our first record.
Nice.
Yeah, a guy named Al Sutton produced it. He's the guy who did the first Greta Van Fleet album, and
That band's
it's
tight.
they're great, man. They record at the same studio that I work at, or that's where they kind of got discovered out of, and they're super sweet guys. But yeah, it turned out really cool. We're kind of just finishing it up right now. But yeah, I'm excited for everybody here. We don't have any music out yet, but it's coming.
When are you trying to have that out by?
We're hoping to get it launched like next year, early next year.
Nice. And you get
Kind of
into a tour based off that, or too small for
planning
that?
on it. Yeah, planning on it. It depends on kind of what happens in the next couple months. Like we're kind of taking the rest of the year to line up the release and all that and see where it's gonna go and how it's gonna get released. But yeah, we'll definitely be doing some touring, man. I can't wait. I'm excited about some of the new songs, you know. So
Oh yeah.
I'm excited for everybody to hear them. It's fun. I feel really lucky, man, because I get to do like the instrumental solo guitar stuff, and I kind of grew up playing in more traditional rock bands. Like that's what I grew up listening to. So I feel lucky I get to do a little bit of both.
Yeah, so with the if you were going to tour off the new albums of Pharaoh, my kind of okay, so the Monuments and Asenger and you just got done touring. That was actually
Yep.
a really neat concert for me because it's like, okay, so you're more like this shreddy melodic rock type guy. Asenger does Asenger things. I don't even know what to describe him as just because he's kind of like everywhere, kind of like darker EDM, but then he does like some guitar synth stuff, like not Tim Henson, but similar to what he
Right.
does. And then you have Bonnie Mistress out here, progressive metal. It was a very neat multi-genre concert, and just emotions are going everywhere. Because I'm like, okay, I've seen like Fit for an Autopsy and like a lot of deathcore stuff this year. So, but it was nice to get a break to hear your stuff. I'm like, man, this is kind of nice. And then a singer takes it to a whole. It's like we're at Lost Lands or some other EDM festival, and then Monuments brings it back to town to what I came for. But no, that really nice.
Thanks, man. No, I think they did that on purpose. I was talking to John Brown, their Monuments guitar player, and that's one thing they definitely were going for with the tour lineup. You know, instead of having all just really heavy bands the whole night, they kind of went for that, like kind of like a multi-genre concert, but it all tied together, man. Like that's one thing. That was a nice compliment we kept getting about the tour, is like it kind of took you on a journey from the beginning to the end, you know. But yeah, it was a pleasure being on that tour, man. Like I feel really blessed to have been able to do that with those guys. Like it was long. It was about 6 weeks, which that's a pretty long time to go out without coming home, at least for
Yeah.
me. But and it was like 6 shows a week, which is another that's
Yeah.
pretty heavy as well. But it was awesome, man. Like everybody got along great. Everybody's super cool. All the shows were awesome. And just a lot of fun times, a lot of fun memories. So it went by quick. Like when you're in it, it's like, wow, it's fast paced. But no, I feel really lucky to have been able to do that tour. It was really fun.
Yeah, no, I've been listening to Monument since 2017. So it's like this was, at least for my understanding, this was like their first time coming through North America on a tour. So I'm like, I have to go see him. I'm happy I did, because now I listen to your stuff at least once a week. I mean,
Awesome, man.
I don't listen to Sanger too much, just because like to me EDM hits so much harder live. So like the little videos I took, I'll like listen back on those and like listen to maybe the one or two heavier EDM songs he did. But
Right.
I would say out of all, I've been to do 7 concerts this year, including the Monuments one. And I would say for bands I haven't heard of, that I was very surprisingly shocked by, was probably you as number one.
Oh, thank you, man. That's really nice. That's super nice compliment. I appreciate it. That's kind of your hope, like when you go out opening for a band, you know, their fans that came to see them like dig your stuff and are willing to check it out. So that's super cool. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
I think it's because, okay, so like in high school, I saw Motley Crue on their final tour, and I'm like, Mick Mars is such a badass, just over there just shredding on his guitar. And so that's actually the reason why my first guitar was Stratocaster, because like him, Tom Morello, and like one or two other people I really looked up to at the time. I'm like, oh, they play Stratocasters, I gotta play a Stratocaster, right? That's just how it
Right.
goes in your head when you're starting out on guitar. But in high school, I'm like, oh, I want to be a shred god, whatever. And so seeing you live, I'm like, oh, Sammy can freaking shred, dude. So I guess the high schooler in me really reconciled with that, and I'm like, man, this
Oh,
guy.
thank you, man.
Yeah, so it's like
That's
you're living out my
I,
childhood dream, man.
oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I think that's one thing about playing music and playing guitar is like you can kind of stay a kid forever. You know, that's kind
Yeah,
of the goal. At least there's an old saying like you stay the age that whenever the age you were when you joined your first band, like that's kind of the age you stay forever, especially when you go out on the road. And
yeah,
for me, like I try to keep that. I try to keep that like childhood I don't know, like innocence going, you know, even though obviously you grow up and things change and circumstances of your life
yeah,
change, you know. That's cool, man. I appreciate that as well. It's super nice.
yeah. So I was actually listening to your stuff a lot this week, knowing we had, or well, since yesterday, knowing we had the thing today, and I'm like, I can't even like shred at all. Like I would say I can play maybe like 2 or 3 solos. A lot of my stuff's more like rhythmic based. So how did you learn how to sweep pick?
Ah, a good question. I haven't thought about that in a while. I think I really loved Yngwie Malmsteen when I was a kid. So I think from that's mainly like how I learned how to play, is like trying to figure out songs that I was listening to. Excuse me. So I think like I learned a lot from him, like trying to learn some of his songs, like Black Star and what other ones. He has like some of his classic stuff. As far as like lessons, there's a really good clinic that Jason Becker did on YouTube. It wasn't on YouTube when I was a kid. I don't remember how I found it. It was like more early days of videos online. But he kind of breaks down the patterns that he used to get around the neck, and I remember like memorizing that. That's kind of like how I kind of first started getting into sweep picking. But my recommendation, whenever anybody asks me about that, is kind of start with the high 3 strings first and try to get those really solid, and then kind of as you get those and you make them easy for you, then kind of extend them to the full set of strings. But I'd say starting with like the top 3 strings for sweep picking is a good place to start. Just learn a major and minor arpeggios.
Yeah. See, like this is gonna sound like a terrible thing to say as a guitar player, but like I avoid theory like it's a zombie apocalypse. Just because, like, to me, guitar is like my little baby hobby that never really went anywhere. So it's like I'm at college right now, so I'm focusing on a bunch of other stuff. So it's like I sit down, I play guitar, I play the songs I want to play, or try and come up with something that I think sounds good. Like a lot, I would say a lot of my rhythmic stuff sounds like Beartooth, if you're familiar with that.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah, that's cool.
yeah, yeah, it's like I love Beartooth because they make even the most simple stuff sound just so good. Or Caleb does, at least in the Disgusting album.
Yeah, they're amazing. I don't know if you've ever seen them live, but they're
Yeah,
fucking
that's
sick
one of the
live.
bands I saw this year with the Silverstein era and Delaware's Prada.
No, that's a good tour. Shit, I
Yeah,
didn't know that's a really good tour. Aira's a sick band. I really like
yeah,
their guitar player Jesse. Um, but no, Beartooth's awesome, man. And no, you don't have to know music theory to play. I think sometimes it's like there's a little bit too much focus on music theory as far as like guitar education goes or learning how to play. Like I think it's more important, like what you said, to enjoy it. Like that's the main goal
yeah,
of guitar is that it should always be fun. It should never be like, oh god, I gotta do this, you know.
yeah,
So and if you only have to know enough to play the music you want to play. You know,
yeah,
that's the way I look at it. So yeah, there's no right or wrong way to learn guitar or play guitar, or no right or wrong approach.
yeah. Except when you hear Polyphia, you're like, oh, I gotta learn that, and then you sit down and start trying to learn Polyphia, and you're like, I am nowhere close to what they can do, you know?
Oh
Because
no, man.
yeah, because I'm trying.
You
I learned a little bit of the worst. I don't know if you're familiar with that song. That's kind of like one of their underground tracks. The
hmm
one, and then what else did I just pick up? Their song "Lit." That one I
Lit,
really,
yeah.
yeah, I really like that one. But then their new song "Ego Death" with Steve Vai. That's a tight song. That
I was
was
listening to that this week. It's sick. It's super cool they did that. Um yeah, that's gnarly. Um yeah, but with stuff like that, man, never sell yourself short, you know. Sometimes like even I know for myself, like especially when I was like first starting out, like sitting down to learn a song like that, like Ego Death or whatever, is a daunting thing, you know, and it never really eases up. But as long as you just take it one little piece at a time, like eventually it adds up. It's all about just like going back to it every day and working
yeah.
on it, you
That's
know.
that's 90%. Like I say, it's like the hardest thing in the world, but it's not. It's just if you just open up Guitar Pro, start out at like 30-40% speed, just listen
Yep.
to it, try and play along, bump it up to 50, 60, just keep going piece by piece. You're eventually gonna be able to play it. It's just like going to the gym. You do it every day, you're gonna eventually be able to do what you want to do.
Exactly. Yep. Nothing comes overnight like that. You know,
Yeah.
you can make big progress in a day. I think, you know, I believe, as far as like learning an instrument or any, you know, if you set your mind to anything, but, overall, nothing true really comes from stuff like that. Like it comes from day after day after day, dedicating your life to it, you know?
Yeah. One thing I kind of found that helps with me is like I don't know if you run into this too as a guitar player, but like I'll be working on something for like 45 minutes just trying to learn it, and then eventually I'm just like, all right, I'm not making any more progress with this right now, so like I'll sleep on it, then I'll wake up the next day just like somehow miraculously playing it better than I did where I ended the last day. Is that
Yep. That happens to me. Yeah. That's definitely happened to me before. Um, I wonder. I've never really thought about why that is. Sometimes, like when you're like hitting a wall, I think it's good to take a break. Like even if you have to take a few days off or whatever amount of time off. That's at least for me. Like with writing music too. Sometimes I'll hit a wall on a song. I'll be like, all right, I need to put this away and do something else for a little bit and come back to it. That's an effective. That's part of the process, I think. Um, and it kind of gives you a different perspective on what you're working on, and I think that's important too, because as soon as your mind starts going, oh god, you know, this, fuck this or whatever, then
right?
that's a good cue to go, all right, I need to take a break, because there's a reason like you sat down and started working on it, you know, you need to get back to that before, you know, starting on it again. It's never healthy to when you get to
Right.
that point. So
Yeah, don't try and drive through the wall. Just let
yeah.
ease off the gas. So when you're taking a break from writing stuff, what do you do? Like, what's your kind of cool down process?
Like outside of music, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, good question. I'm really into like Eastern religion and spirituality and stuff like that. So I spend a lot of time reading and I don't know, studying that stuff. That's kind of like the other part of my life, I guess. And I guess it's connected to my music too, but that's mainly my other, I don't know, what I do outside of playing music. Like as far as having a lot of hobbies and stuff, I don't know. It's like it always ends up coming back to playing guitar, working on something, you know.
Yeah.
But I like that's I love reading. I love spending time with friends. Um, that kind of thing. I don't know. It's like when you're a musician, like it ends up being like a 24-hour job a
Yeah.
lot of the time. Like it keeps you really busy, especially when you're working on different projects. And just to keep going, you have to be working at it every day.
Yeah, or you'll
But
be like, oh, now I thought of this. I gotta go record this, and there's
yeah,
an idea that can hit you at any part of the day, and you're like, oh, I can't lose that. I gotta go track that or send that
that
off
happens to me a
somewhere.
lot. Or like I'll be going to bed and you hum it in your phone, um, that type of thing. But what about you, man? You said you go to school. Where do you go to school?
I'm going to Iowa State right now, so that Des Moines concert,
That's in Des Moines, right?
that's 40 minutes north. It's in
Oh, okay.
Ames, but relatively close. The Des Moines college you're thinking about is probably Drake. That's a
Drake, that's it.
university designed around law, which ironically is placed probably around the worst part of Des Moines. Like as far as
Oh,
like
really?
yeah, as far as crime. So it's like very ironic they put it there, but that's just kind of like the ongoing joke in Des Moines. But no, so I'm like doing cybersecurity stuff. So like my goal is to eventually try and be like in cyber consulting. So I'm actually interviewing with a business tomorrow. Wait, no, today's Wednesday. Friday. Interviewing Friday to go do cyber consulting with like this company in Des Moines actually.
Oh,
And
cool, man.
they do accounting, auditing, and cyber consulting. So taxes, accounting, cyber stuff. And there's this guy that came into one of my classes and he's like, "Oh, I'm a social engineer. Do you know what social engineering is?"
Familiar. Remind me.
It's like, okay, let's just say, imagine I just try and help you tune your guitar and stuff, or just do something for you at a concert, be like, oh, hey, you dropped this. And now I did a favor for you. So maybe I try and get you to do a favor for me that might not be as ethical, or I might not have as ethical intentions with this favor. Right? So it's trying to exploit people to do something for you to get you access to something that you're not supposed to, right? So
Oh my God.
yeah, it's kind of a dicey job to get in, but I think it's something that definitely needs to be brought awareness to companies that have, highly confidential data, so like banks and hospitals. And actually, the first cyber death did happen last year. It was correlated to a hospital that got their system shut down via a distributed denial of service attack on. So basically, that is like you probably heard like Xbox and PlayStation, their networks going down and stuff. That's all from like
Yep.
DDoSing, and all that it is people just sending large amounts of data, like terabytes of data, to their system. So it's just like I don't know what to do. Like there's so much coming at once, so you just like lock up. That's basically what happens. Everything goes offline, and this mom was trying to give birth to a baby, and all the systems were down, so they couldn't have the systems reading the vitals on the baby. So the doctor's like, "Oh, we're just use our intuition and do it the old way."
Oh
Well,
my God.
the baby ended up dying because the
From
systems
a hack, basically.
because the hack turned the systems offline.
That's horrible, man.
Yeah,
That's
so
crazy.
that's and my mom told me about that, and then I was taking a cybersecurity ethics class last year at the time that the lawsuit finally went through, and that was the dedicated factor as to why the baby passed. But it's like in that case, who's responsible, right? Is it how are you gonna find out who the hacker is? People doing that are very careful as to not leak their identity.
Right.
So it's like,
That's
how do you blame fault there?
how do you do it? Yeah. So that's from hearing that story and then your class. That's how you kind of got interested in it.
Personally, cybersecurity for me goes all the way back to like 2018 when that huge like Facebook and Cambridge Analytica thing came out. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
here's all the accounts that got their data leaked. I'm like, I don't think anyone should ever have to like worry about their data leak because like it's like, oh, do you want to upload your contacts to Facebook so then you can use Messenger as like an SMS thing as well? It's like, no, not really anymore. If you're just gonna be sharing my contacts with these third party apps that you're connected to,
I know.
it's stuff like that.
All of that is going to come to the fore. It's going to come to a head in the next few years, I think. Like the laws are kind of still behind it, haven't caught
Yeah.
up to the technology. So yeah, that's a good field to be in, man. It's noble work because there's a
Yeah.
lot of problems right now, as you know.
Yeah.
Especially with like people losing their data and getting their data sold. It's a huge industry.
Yeah.
It's wild, man. It's
I
crazy.
know. So back to like the 2020 election, not to get political or anything, like to say anything about politics, but one candidate
Yeah,
I
you're good.
did like was Andrew Yang, mostly not even for the UBI thing, like his universal basic income, but
Basic
he
income,
was
yeah.
really talking about hey, we need to tax the data companies that are selling these data for thousands upon hundreds of thousands of dollars, and medical data is one of the most valued data out there. So that's why people are like, oh, hospitals are at huge risks, right? But there's so much I could talk about this forever. I'd probably drown you in all the information I could throw out at you. But it's like him saying that, I'm like, I think that is 100% truth, because big data mining is over $1 trillion industry.
It's one of the biggest industries now. Yeah. Especially not only in politics, just advertising,
it's
everything.
Yeah,
everything.
It's everything.
All
Anything
business.
anything you do, it's logged in a data center somewhere.
So you think? All right, I have a question then. So while we were on the road, we were all talking about, we'd talk about something in a van, and then not text, not Google it, nothing, just talking about something in the van. And then 3 days later, we'd get ads for it on Facebook. What's that? What's up with that? Can you explain?
Your phones are it's always listening,
yeah.
And so you know how there's AI in your phone, right?
Yeah, of course.
So basically, it'll pick up on keywords, and if anything matches with like advertisers tags keywords for that they'll run ads on, and then like, oh, we're gonna go push it onto this guy's phone. And what's even crazier is you only have to fucking talk about it. It could be, oh, John Brown goes to go look at guitars on his thing, and let's say he goes look at Mayonnaise guitars, or how you pronounce that brand.
Yeah.
Well, just because your phone is in proximity to his or connected to the same network his is,
yep,
you might be pushed the same ads that he is, because it's like, oh, hey, these two devices are close to each other on a network. They might be talking about the same thing. So it's not always correlated to your voice. It could just be someone else's interest. Like maybe your Eastern religion thing gets pushed out to John Brown or other guys.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and they notice, oh, they're around each other every day at this time. They might have similar interests. Yep. It's unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
it's unbelievable that's legal, really, but I mean, I get it. It's the times we live in.
Yeah. So how would you want it? How would you want it to be?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it enough to talk about it, I think. But I wish there was a way to shut it off. I think
that's why I have iPhone. That's what, because to me iPhone, Steve Jobs was the original guy that made Apple, but Tim Cook was the first guy to talk on the European General Data Privacy Regulation. It was either privacy or publicity. Privacy or publicity. One of the two. Anyways, there's regulation regarding big data over in Europe, and this is a response to the Cambridge Analytica thing with Facebook in 2018. Yeah. They're like, hey, every person on this account, or on this platform, any platform, should say, okay, here's what you can do with my data, and if I request it to be deleted, you delete it, right? Like, if I'm gone, the data's gone. And now that's how on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, whatever, you can request, a package of your data, and you can see everything they've collected. Anytime you click on the app, it has your IP, the time, what you do on there. You click on an ad, it has that. It's berserk, dude. But
I know. And think about the amount of just sheer data that is for everybody, where it's stored, how it's stored. It's like, it's amazing they can even store that. That is just like an unlimited amount of terabytes. Right? I mean, it's gotta be insane.
Yeah. You are crazy. Looking at like millions of terabytes.
Yeah, more. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
they're just completely nuts.
Yeah, they're actually moving Microsoft and Facebook data centers to Des Moines. They're building them right now, and I have a family member in construction that had to go in there and like work on just like installing stuff, like not computers and stuff, but just he hangs blinds and stuff. And they have cameras everywhere, and they're like, you can't take pictures of anything, but he had to like take a picture of like the blinds after he hung them up. And the one guy in there was like, what are you doing? There's 30 cameras that just saw what you did. And then so he's looking around the cameras and shrugging his shoulders like, I told him not to. But it's like, it's crazy how much data there is that they have to move into the middle of bumfuck nowhere, Iowa, right? It's
same thing. My parents live in Utah, Salt Lake City. Same thing. That's a huge data. They're constantly building. It's one of the biggest data centers in the country. Just buildings, just housing data. That's it. A couple people maintaining it. That's it. But just constantly growing and growing every year. It gets more and more. It's the future, man. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah. So what? Okay. So if you think data should be regulated, who do you think should regulate it? Do you think it should be the government, or do you think it should be its own organization that kind of stands up to it, and it's kind of like a world data regulation type deal?
Like world data as opposed to country by country.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be something that it's just gonna change throughout our lives. You know, like I think it's something that they're gonna have to work through because I mean, with the way like VR is starting to get incorporated everything, like what Facebook's launching, and I mean that's on a whole other level of data collection, you know. I don't know. I think they're gonna try to do it through government in the next few years. I don't know how successful it'll be, but I'm not really sure, man. What do you think? If you could have it anyway,
If I could have it
what would you do?
anyway, personally,
Yeah,
I just after like the last couple elections, I'm like, I don't. The government to me is not out for like humanity's best interest, in my
true.
opinion. Just
Yeah,
what I've seen, and just seeing how, it's like so much shit goes down during election time. Just like why did it take so long to rally up votes and everything, just stuff like that.
hmm
And I'm like, I just wish it was like a third party type deal where it's like it's just comprised of people that actually do have their best interests and stuff, and not
right.
just trying to get a piece of the pie. It's crazy like how many bad actors are in the world, and it's like, in my opinion, the people who do want to have that much power is like, why do you want that much power and that many people to hate you? It's like you are obviously up to no good. That's just my
It's greed and selfishness, and yeah, no amount of money is ever enough, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that is the problem with the government regulating anything. You know, it gets corrupted really fast. Um, yeah, but that being said, like a third party entity too. I mean, corruption exists in every business. You
Yeah,
know,
it's
I
everywhere,
don't know.
but
I don't know.
I'm trying to. I don't know. Maybe I'll be some of the solution. Maybe I'll be the guy
Exactly.
that's the revolution. I don't know.
It should be, man. Yeah, that's a nice goal to have. That's cool. It's wild.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't spend enough time thinking about it. I'd be scared to look at all the data
yeah.
that's
Don't
out
look
there
at
on
all.
me. I know. I'm
Don't.
like, oh God, I was
Yeah,
really doing that. You know.
yeah.
Uh,
But I would. Do you have Facebook?
I do.
I would say just go on there and just download your data and just see what they collect. Because I think for everyone listening, I feel like they should do it if they have a computer to do it on, and just to see just the sheer amount of data that they collect. And it's not just Facebook doing it. It's not just YouTube doing it. It's literally every website out there that you click on. They will collect your IP, what you do on their website. It's
Yeah, everyone.
wild. It's wild. But
It's
we
crazy,
have
man.
we have 7 minutes left. Do you want me to reopen the meeting?
Let's do it. I got one more question for you though.
Okay, all
Is
right.
TikTok, and then we'll reopen.
Okay.
Is TikTok Chinese spyware?
I don't even get me thinking about that because I have a bad TikTok obsession too. I'll be on there watching guitars and stuff. Because I just like seeing the comedy sketches on there. If it is Chinese spyware, I'm fucked. Like,
Alright. That's one thing. A buddy of mine said that. I was like, "Do you have TikTok, man?" He's like, "No." And he's in the pretty high up in the tech world. He's like, "No, Chinese spyware, delete it." I was like, "Oh no." So
yeah,
yeah, I
it's
don't know.
it's very interesting to have that assumption though. 'Cause it's like I would like to see public proof. I'd like to see the proof behind that, where that kind of derives from. I mean, I get it, dude. But what's crazy is the software engineers to design the algorithm for the For You page are batshit insanely smart. Because
Oh
it's
yeah.
like you just swipe, and you'll be on there for an unhealthy amount of time. I know I
It's
am.
a
That's
drug. Yeah, I use
yeah,
it too. But it's one of those things to promote your music. Like that's been a huge thing for
yeah,
me. You know, TikTok's a big thing for musicians. I mean, it's just fun. You know.
yeah. It
But
is fun. We're
what's
back and
up?
live and ready. No, no, I actually really like you brought up that last question though regarding TikTok because it's actually I think I don't know, as tensions just kind of rise over in that part of the world, it's definitely something to think about. Really, it's like China's right by Russia.
It's crazy. I know. Like thinking about all that in regards to world politics and world events. But I don't know. It's so integrated into like our culture now. TikTok's like one of the probably the biggest social media right now, for at least
Yeah,
for younger people.
yeah,
Um, it's like getting rid of it. I don't know. How are you gonna get rid of it? Overnight? That's gonna be insane.
yeah. Because it's,
So
in my opinion, for content creators or musicians like you, I would say it's one of the best tools in the marketing world right now. Because
it's
everyone's on
it's
there. You get
it's the
so many
best.
views. Yeah, it's
It's better than Instagram was a few years ago. Like the Instagram and Facebook algorithms changed so much. It's like way harder to cut through. The TikTok algorithm, I started using it about maybe like a year and a half ago, pretty effectively. And just even just using old content from Instagram and Facebook, the amount of people you can gain just naturally with the algorithm is pretty unbelievable. So any musicians listen to this, that's the more you avoid it, it's like you're just killing time because that's where the whole thing is going, I think, as far as music promotion goes, you know?
Yeah. Do you know
Yeah.
Signs of the Swarm?
I don't. I'm
They're
sorry.
no, they're good. You're good. They open up for Lorna Shore this year. I assume you know Lorna Shore or no?
Yeah, I do know Lone Star.
Okay,
That's cool.
okay, okay. So they open up for Lorna Shore this year. They're on a tour with them, and I had their drummer Bobby Crow on, and I was talking to him. He's like, "Yeah, we just hopped on TikTok, but it's kind of like a pain in the ass. 'Cause, you know, it's just one more thing you gotta upload your stuff to. Takes time, respond to comments, do all this stuff." And I agree with him. It's like, you know, and with me, you know, starting out this podcast, like I have to do a lot of work to try and get my name out there, and you know,
Hmm.
it helps that like you really made it on Instagram. Like when I saw your Instagram following, I'm like, holy shit, 100,000, right?
Thanks,
I'm like,
man.
this guy's crazy, man. Does Monuments even have that?
I don't know. I don't know. I got lucky with Instagram. Like a lot of the social media stuff is timing. Um, and you kind of just have to see where, um, see what the algorithms react to depending on the different social medias. And like when I started getting followers on there, it was probably like I started really working on it like maybe like 3 years ago. Um, I kind of just figured out what worked and what got on people's like explore page, and then just kind of you just once you figure out that you just kind of just got to hit it and hit it and hit it over and over.
Yeah,
Eventually, like it starts to come. You know, TikTok's kind of the same way, but it's easier to grow your following on TikTok now. Instagram, it's harder to. I would say it's harder than it was a few years ago. Like now, it's more like pay to get it seen, which is a
yeah,
bummer. It's like Facebook, where like if you make a post, not your whole following doesn't see it. You know,
yeah. It's
which is really annoying. But with TikTok, it's like that as well. But it's the chances of getting on Explore and For You are way higher,
yeah,
depending on what you're doing. But
yeah. So what would you say? So I actually was actually how many times did I say actually in a row? But
you're good.
how would you say the blue check mark on Instagram has affected your visibility on Instagram? Has that helped you in any way at all, or is it just kind of like a social status thing?
I don't know. I try not. I don't think about shit like that. I don't know. I like sometimes my friends will like give me shit about it, or not give me shit, but like, oh, that's oh, I got a message from you, blah blah blah. Yeah, you're verified. Cool. Like just give me shit.
Yeah,
But I don't think it really changes anything. It hasn't like gotten more views or something like that, or I don't
that's
know.
interesting. Don't you think it would?
No, I don't know. I don't really know. I don't really think. I kind of forgot about it honestly until you brought that up. But yeah, that's more of the. I think like I have like a little cousins and stuff. Like that's one thing. Like from touring around, like you get to see some of your family that you don't usually see, and like they think that's the coolest thing more than anything, more
Yeah,
than like being on tour or like
yeah,
anything. They're like, you have a verified Instagram, like that, which I think it's more like the latter part of your. It's more like a social thing. I don't know,
yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. That shit changes too. Like I feel like it's easier to get verified now than it was a few years ago.
I would have to agree with that too, because I like, or even on TikTok too. I mean, I remember. Do you know Nothing Nowhere?
Heard of them, not familiar.
He's kind of like a pop guy, kind of. But he has these. If you like ambient guitar stuff, where it's just like singing guitar, he has these things called one takes, where he strips down his songs to just his vocals and guitar, like no effects or anything. It's
That's
actually
cool.
pretty sick. But so he hopped onto Instagram and he had maybe or not Instagram, TikTok with like 1,000 or 2,000 followers, and some like I don't know who he talked to, but he got verified quick with like minimal following. And people were like,
Wow.
"How are you verified?" He's like, "Oh, I'm the creator of Fortnite." So that was his running joke, just to say he's like, "Oh yeah, I created Fortnite." Just
He lied. He lied and then
yeah,
got verified. Oh, that's funny, man.
either
That's
that,
hilarious.
yeah, either that or people. That was just his response to people asking how he got verified with such low follower count. I think that's the funniest thing ever.
That is really funny. And then people started to believe him. Or
Yeah,
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
And then he started posting his music after he got like a lot of following. So he kind of used that little trick to be like, oh, I'm gonna push my music on here after I troll you
And
guys for a little bit.
and then he got it. So now he has a huge following on TikTok.
I believe so. I haven't checked his stuff in a while. I think I tried to make a TikTok for my podcast things just so I could upload like little shorts on there, and I ended up. I thought you could have like on Instagram. I thought you could have like multiple accounts on TikTok, so I could like switch between my main and then my podcast one. Well, I ended up logging out on my main one and losing like everything I posted on there and like everyone I followed because I
Why
forgot
is
the
that?
log. I forgot the login and email I used.
Oh yeah. Fuck.
Yeah. So if it is Chinese spyware, I did use kind of like a not my real email because I didn't need to get that linked to anything. Because if I am going into cyber, it's like I don't need my future employers to be like, oh, what's this email used for on stuff? Oh, he has it on TikTok fired.
Oh, you're done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, you have a TikTok on your phone? Get out of here. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah.
That's interesting though, man. I kind of want to look into trying to get verified on TikTok. I've never even thought about that.
I would say
That's
that'd probably be
cool.
the most beneficial thing for you.
As
I don't
opposed,
know.
well,
Yeah.
I think on TikTok that does affect who sees your stuff as opposed to Instagram. Like
Yeah.
I feel like your chances of getting on some of the algorithmic stuff is probably higher if you're verified. Like I feel like on my For You I get a lot of verified just in
Yeah.
general. you know?
Yeah.
So I think maybe it depends, but that is an interesting algorithm, man. Whoever designed it is, or the team that did it, it's crazy. It's definitely the most addicting.
Oh yeah. It's crazy to think about this. Like, if this is like truly like Chinese spyware, it's like they are disguising it pretty good. But speaking of like wicked smart software engineers, though, the guy that's leading the team, the metaverse thing, the whole augmented reality for Facebook. So my friend is friends with the guy who's leading that team. Doesn't have a college degree, and he's like 26.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, it's crazy.
That's
Yeah, he's
that's
getting paid
super
a
cool.
lot. Getting paid a
Oh,
lot
I can
of
imagine.
money. Yeah.
It's his team. He's the head of it.
Yep, he's the guy behind the software engineers.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting when that all rolls out, man. That's coming out soon, isn't it?
I
the
don't
first version of
follow.
it?
I hate Facebook. I'll try and avoid
Yeah.
Facebook like the plague. But the only reason I use it is personally because that's like a lot of what my family uses. So it's
Right.
like I'm like, oh hey, go check out this little podcast thing, or I'll upload a guitar clip or someone's birthday and I do a guitar cover
Right.
for them. Like for my dad, I did Rockstar by Nickelback because I was like his favorite song ever. Even though I hate Nickelback, but I'm like, you gotta make your dad happy.
Of course, man. Things you do for love.
Yeah. Do you do any of that for your family?
Not guitar covers, but yeah, sometimes I've written my parents' songs and stuff or send them a clip,
That's
yeah,
neat.
that's super.
Yeah.
And I'm on Facebook too. My mom's on Facebook a lot, so that's mostly why I keep it around. She'll send me stuff on there. She
Yeah.
likes sending me stuff on Messenger, so
Where she's like,
yeah. Go
Where
ahead.
she's like, Sammy, I can't see your stuff anymore. What happened? You're like, I forgot. Sorry. Just gotta keep posting
wait.
on there.
Yeah, no, she's got an Instagram now too, so she can see all that. But I'd say I'm mostly on Instagram and TikTok the most.
You
I'm
post.
trying to build my YouTube. I'm trying to build my YouTube up too, but say that again?
Yeah. I was gonna ask, what do you post more on, Instagram or TikTok?
Probably Instagram. As far as like stories and all that, probably Instagram. But everything I put on Instagram, I just throw on TikTok too. And
Yeah.
but also another good thing, going live on TikTok. I do that a lot. I'm probably gonna do that at some point today. Just playing songs on there. That gets on For You too, as opposed to Instagram where it's just only goes to your followers. So you can get your like lives going to like endless amounts of people, like thousands at a time that aren't following you. So
Yeah.
something to think about too, as far as like promoting your podcast or whatever. Like maybe doing a couple live podcasts with people.
Yeah.
Something to think about because it really can, like, you can be on there for a half hour and get a couple thousand followers.
Yeah. It's crazy, dude. How TikTok works just blows my mind. But this is something to think about too with going live. I don't know if you're on your For You page, if you ever came across a Dallas Skies around like 9 or 10 CST, but he does like super ambient guitar playing, and like it used to be really on my old account where I'd be following like a lot of different guitarists and stuff, but almost every night he'd come across my For You page. I didn't follow him, but he was so consecutive with how he'd go live, the exact times he'd be playing from. So it's almost like if you run it like a Twitch stream schedule, maybe you'll get pushed more to the algorithm that way. So I don't know if that's something you think about or.
It is something I think about, and it's something I need to be more diligent about because my schedule is a little bit nuts. Like it's hard for me to do something at the same time every day. But that's what I'm shooting towards that because I think it definitely affects who sees it, and people plan on seeing it. You know, it's like it becomes part of their routine. I'm right. I'm gonna watch this at 7 p.m. or whatever, Monday through Friday, like a Twitch stream. So
Yeah.
you're exactly right. But I think yeah, that does help. Help it get blasted to more people because it's like it's an expectation, and like you get more people just genuinely tuning into it, which affects the algorithm as well. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I it's almost like a TV show, you know. It's like you know what's coming on when it's coming on. So
Yep.
maybe that's like not soft coded into the TikTok algorithm. It's like, oh hey, maybe this guy had 10,000 viewers last night. We'll try and get more people interested in it. So then they're
Right.
like, oh, we're gonna put this at like the forefront of the For You page. But what's the
You know,
most you've had on for a live?
at once, uh, I think at once I had over 2,000 people watching at one time. But over, say you play for an hour, over the course of that, you can have. I think the highest was like close to 10,000 people tuning in over the course of it. But it's funny, like what works for that, because that was just like me playing in my bedroom, playing the tracks. You know, like I think that works the best for TikTok, just in general. Like people want to feel like you're like just at home or like something like that, because like it does work too. Like we live streamed a couple of the shows from the Monuments tour, and those did well too, but not the same. It wasn't the same, you know.
Yeah.
Like it got on For You, but not the same way. I don't know what it is. I think a lot of it is like just like one-on-one. I think is a lot of TikTok just in general. You know, like one person sitting in front of the camera or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Where
Um,
did you live stream the concerts at? Was it TikTok or Instagram?
TikTok, and we did like San Antonio, and I think we did one from our when we were rehearsing. That did pretty well.
That
I
would
don't
have been
know.
neat to see the rehearsal. That'd be really
Yeah,
tight.
I thought it was cool because like it was before the tour, and it's like, all right, it makes you feel like you're playing a show. Let's make sure we
Yeah.
got it down. You know, here
Yeah.
we go. So it's kind of cool, but
Yeah.
yeah, I like it too because it feels less formal than like on Instagram. Maybe it's because like
Right.
all your friends are on your Instagram, you know, so you feel like you're being like more under a microscope or something. But
Yeah. You're being
on
surveyed
TikTok,
more.
it's yeah, like TikTok, it just feels you can do whatever you want, you know.
Yeah, it's like who
So,
cares?
yeah, it
But
doesn't matter.
so I going back to your guitar playing, like seeing you live, just when I tap and I try and do like shreddy stuff, it's like I'm not like the cleanest shredder ever. But like seeing your technique, you have really killer technique because you're just isolating notes perfectly. Like there's no white noise behind it. There's nothing. I
Oh,
don't know
thanks,
how
man.
you do it. Like I gotta pay respect when it's due for that.
Oh, thank you, man. I think a lot of it is you kind of have to. I'm trying to think the best way, but like with the clean tapping, which is like a lot of like the melodies of my songs are using that technique or whatever. You just have to figure out exactly how you're gonna play it and play it the same way every single time, you know, and uh, and just be very very tuned in to like uh, yeah, like no excess noise, no, you know, just be very precise about what you're doing, you know. I think that's a big part of it. And just like, I don't know, you kind of, if you start thinking about what you're doing for a second, it's done. It's like you kind of, it just has to be
Yeah,
totally ingrained in you, you know.
yeah. You're hard
But
coding it right into your muscle memory.
yeah, yeah, and I've like streamlined it too, like with the pedal board I use and stuff. Like I use a switcher, so like I only have to hit one thing to change all the effects, as opposed to like pedal dancing. Because when I was trying to do that and play those songs, it was like too much, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Um,
I totally get. Well, you have such complicated things to do on your guitar. It's not like you're just a rhythm guitarist. You're both hands are on the fretboard, and it's like either that, or you're doing some crazy solo.
Thanks, man. It's fun. It's tricky because like there's so many it's different than just recording it or playing it at home. Like when you're on stage, it's like you have to be entertaining too, you know, I can't just stand there. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's you have to I've definitely been working on it. Like it's something I work at every time I go on stage, like trying to figure out exactly what works, what doesn't, you know. And a lot of the time, it's like there's so many other factors. That's what I try to tell students or kids or whatever. It's like when you go to play live, like there's so many factors of what's going on. You know, maybe you can't hear. Maybe, you know, the bass player's rig's not working. Maybe, you know, it sounds weird out front. Like there's so many factors that happen that you can't control. So it's like the one thing you can control is how well you know the music, you know? So it's better to like you have to, like a bomb could go off and you still are playing the song perfect, you know? That's how well you have to know the music, I think, no matter what you're playing, you know? So that's just my approach to it, or the way what I try to do before going on the road, or, you know, whatever I'm doing, playing
Yeah.
gig.
So when you tour, do you ever like bother learning other people's songs just for the fun of it? You're like, oh, like after, I imagine after like show like 5 or 6, you're not even in the like crowd too much anymore, watching other people's set. Just like, I know exactly how a show's gonna go, so you might just be like, I mean, you'll listen, but it's, like you won't be like surprised by too much.
You know, with Monuments and Essenger was sick too. But Monuments especially, like the musicianship in that band is so insane. Like it's such an unbelievable level of playing. Like I found myself watching that almost every night, because John's like not only an unbelievable guitarist, but the whole band. I mean, it's just
Oh yeah.
the way they played the stuff changed throughout the tour. That's one cool thing about touring, is like your approach to playing the songs, even though you're playing the same songs generally every night, or similar set lists. The approach to what you're doing changes, you know, because you get comfort, you get in the zone, you get in the, you know, you're after a few shows, like you said, like 5 or 6, you're like the comfort of doing it that many days in a row, like you're willing to take more chances, I think, in general.
Yeah.
Generally, you know. So yeah, it was cool watching them do that and seeing like how the songs kind of evolved. And same thing with my band, like the way those songs evolved as we went through the tour, you know.
Yeah, your drummer, his name's Miguel, isn't it?
Yeah, Miguel Gutierrez.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's nuts on the drums.
He's a beast.
He's good.
He's great. He's really good, man. Yeah. Same thing. Like the way he played the stuff changed over the tour, you know?
Yeah.
And that was like kind of a first tour we had ever done together. We've known each other a long time, played together a while, but we'd never gone on the road together or whatever. But no, he's a phenomenal drummer, man. Yeah, great. And Jimmy, my bass player, is great too.
Oh yeah.
We had a blast, man. Like this tour, like just so much fun. Like I don't really have anything negative to say about it. Like just every day was an adventure. You know?
Oh, I bet it was. So
Yeah.
with your, so you said you never went on tour with Miguel before that. So do you just hire out random people that you're friends with, or know they'll fit your songs well when you tour then?
It's changed. Like in the past when I've played this stuff, the band I mentioned, Pharaohs, the bass player and the drummer have played with me and played on the albums. Our bass player actually has produced most of my stuff, Steve Lehane. But with this tour, they just both had conflicts, so I kind of had to and it's a long 6 weeks is a pretty long commitment, you know.
Yeah.
So I had to just find new guys. But for me, like the number one thing is like obviously, yeah, the musicianship is number one. Like it has to be a good fit musically. But yeah, I'm somebody who just I like being around people that I really like and I'm comfortable with and are friends. Like Miguel and Jimmy, we've been friends for so long, you know. Like I've known them both for years, so that's an important thing to me, especially when you're on a tour, when you're in a van and you're together 24/7. There's no barely get any free time to yourself. So yeah, that's really really important to me. Like the camaraderie and just
Yeah.
friendship and having a good time, you know. So yeah, they're both just a pleasure to travel with and tour with, in addition
Yeah.
to being great musicians.
Absolutely. My favorite thing about the concert was just seeing how informal Monuments was on the stage. Like, they were just slapping each other's ass and everything, flicking each
Yeah.
other off. Like, that's awesome. I love seeing that. Because, like,
Yeah.
even like what you said, too, like, changing up a little bit of the songs. Not, I mean, it's still the same song, but just changing how you play it just slightly. Like, my favorite Monument song, this is what got me hooked, is I the Creator. That's, like, the only
So
one I
sick.
ever bothered to learn. That's actually the reason why I even got a 7-string guitar in the first place, just for that song. It took me 3 years to learn it, but I did it.
The
But
guitar and that's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy guitar part.
Yeah, but like the breakdown, it's like bam, that little part. Just how he plays that live is so tight. It's that I
It's
went nuts when he
dumb.
played it.
Yeah.
It's stupid dumb.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. John's like unbelievable, really.
Yeah,
Yeah, but and what you're saying, it's like they're not even trying. It's just like they're fucking around on stage. They're
yeah,
doing the middle finger as a form of endearment, you know.
yeah,
But yeah, it was cool to watch them, man. Like it was, you could tell they're
yeah,
having a really good time,
yeah. That
which
was
I
one.
like that. You
Yeah,
know,
it
that's how it
was
should
one of
be.
my favorite shows to be at. I mean, other than the, I don't know if you remember, but there was that one drunk turd in the crowd that Andy ended up being like, "Hey, get this guy out of here," and security ended up
I
having
missed
to.
that. I missed that whole thing, but I heard about
Yeah,
it after. Yeah,
yeah.
what was he doing? He was like trying to pick a fight or something.
That he was, it was basically one guy who doesn't know how to mosh nicely, had one too many drinks, and he ended up breaking like someone's glasses, and he was like even trying to like get up in my face, and he's like, "You can punch me if you want." And personally, I'm like, I over summer I worked a blue collar job, and I had this. I made friends with this guy that's originally from Mexico, and he moved to America in December. So I picked up on quite a bit of Spanish. So I'm like, I don't even want to be correlated with this guy. So I started talking Spanish to him, saying, I don't speak English, even though look at me, I clearly do. But yeah, he kept trying to like, he's like, you can punch me, dude. I won't even say anything. I'm like, I'm not punching you. I'm not trying to get kicked out too, man. Like, just get away from me.
That was
Like,
insane. I didn't know all that was fucking going on, man. That's,
yeah,
he was trying to pick fights with people. That happens, man. It's a metal,
yeah,
it's like you're playing metal clubs or just, it's a metal show. People like to party and get nuts, but
yeah,
yeah, that's uncalled for. It sucks that like whenever anybody has to stop the show and go get the fuck out of here, like that's just come on,
yeah,
like you got to be able, if you're gonna be getting hammered and stuff at the show, you got to be able to control yourself,
yeah,
Sucks, but that was a
yeah.
good show though, man. I like that venue's, it's like a newer venue, correct? Or no?
That's my first time being there. I don't know, but I like that venue though, because they have
It was
that kind
good.
of upstairs area. Then your guys' merch stuff was below the stairs and below the second level. And
Yeah, it was cool.
so what ended up happening with your guys' tour manager in Dallas?
That was Essinger's tour manager. I guess I can tell the story. So we played this venue called Trees in Dallas, and it was probably like the best show, not the best show, but probably like the most slam show of the tour. Like it was just fucking great show. The venue was great. Everything went off without a hitch. And it was probably like the second week of tour. It was like pretty early on in the tour. So we all went out afterwards and were having fun, like celebrating. All right, great show, killed it. And I wasn't there. Me and around like maybe like 1 a.m. Me and the guys in my band left and went to the hotel. We were at a bar called Shot Topic. Like the fucking it was cool. It was
Yeah,
like a Hot Topic theme bar. Anyway, night's going great at that point. Anyway, we left, but the rest of the guys after that they stayed till the bar closed, and I don't know, like it's hard when you're traveling around and you're playing in cities because every city has a good area and a bad area. I mean, it's just how it is. And it just started. It was one of those things where at night it just started. You just started getting the feeling like, all right, maybe we shouldn't be walking around by ourselves type
yeah.
place. So we left, but the rest of the guys stayed. And Essinger's tour manager Phil and Monument's merch guy Brian stayed. And after everybody went back to the bus, but they went next door to get a slice of pizza because they were hungry. It was like 2 a.m. or like right after the bars closed. And there was a drive-by shooting, and Phil got shot in the leg while he was waiting to get pizza. So,
At the
which is,
pizza place?
yeah, standing
That's
outside. I don't know, he's
crazy.
smoking a cigarette, or just waiting to get, completely nuts, dude. It's horror. It's. I still like even retelling the story now. Think about it. It's like so wrong on so many
Yeah,
levels. But anyway, he got it. Luckily, only it was only that, and the ambulance came really quick. He called 911 himself. They got him in the hospital, took care of everything. So he missed 1 day of tour, and then so we went and played the next gig, and then they took the bus back, picked him up at the hospital, and continued the tour. So he's stronger than I am. I don't know
yeah.
if I would have
What
been
a
able to keep
warrior.
going. No, seriously, he's like the road. The road can be very dangerous. That's one thing.
Yeah,
Granted, that's extreme. I've never heard of that happening to anybody.
yeah. I haven't
And it was
either.
shocking. I didn't know about it until the next day, and it was shocking hearing it. Um, yeah, it's just wrong on so many levels. But he's a trooper. He didn't even like consider not keeping the tour going. You know, he was determined to get back out there. So did the whole thing, and yeah, it was a hard. I know it was a hard few days for him, but he got back in the swing of it. You know,
Yeah. No,
was wearing a boot. You know, but other than that, he was
yeah.
fine.
No, that's awesome. I was able to get back out there quick. One thing I did notice at the merch tables, though, just personally, that was probably some of the more expensive merch I've seen all all year going to concerts. Like, I bought the Gnosis album, and then what's Monument's newest album?
In stasis.
In Stasis. I bought those two albums. It was like $50 for two albums. I mean, I'm not.
For,
I bought them. Like, I have no problem shelling out like $50 for two albums because like I was very appreciative that everyone came to Des Moines because like
right.
I've been wanting to see Monuments forever, and I'm like, this is gonna be my thanks on top of obviously coming out. And I don't know if you guys like upcharge the merch to kind of like help with tour managers' hospital fees or anything. That was just kind of like what I kind of thought in my head after seeing that Instagram news thing that you guys posted out for the GoFundMe.
No, I don't think I don't think it wouldn't have been for that. I don't think. I don't know. I think it's just people. A lot of the time with touring bands, that's how you make your money. You know, it's
Yeah,
the merchandise. So I don't know. I don't know what their pricing was or whatever, but at least for us, it's like you kind of just set it and just that's what
yeah,
it is. You know, but that's not. I've seen. I definitely have seen gouging in my life. I don't know. I don't think theirs was set particularly too high, but. Um, it could have been too, like sometimes, like we had just come from Canada, and you set the prices higher in Canada because the
right.
dollar's worth less. You know, maybe they didn't switch it back. I don't know, but
Yeah. No, I'm not
yeah,
complaining about the price. I just didn't know if that was like a reason for it. Because that personally, that
no,
was
it
just the
wouldn't have been
most
that.
expensive CDs I bought all year.
It
Like
was
usually they're
25
around.
a CD.
It was 20 for Gnosis and 30 for Instasis. Granted,
Okay,
I got
well.
Instasis signed.
Oh well, there you go. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So I'm like, well,
Yeah,
at least I feel it's way more justified that
that's
way.
cool. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's harder to get that stuff now. Like there's, well,
That's
I
true.
don't know
Yeah.
if you're into vinyl. Like vinyl's a year out. There's like a shortage of vinyl. Or like the record plants are just so backed up. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I felt lucky. Like I had to restock merch a few times on the tour. Just because before you go out, you don't know how it's gonna go. You know, until you
Right.
get out there, or what you don't know what the numbers are gonna be. But I felt lucky, man. Like traveling around, like there was a lot of people willing to be accommodating for like printing T-shirts the day of, stuff like that. Like that is one cool thing about traveling is like you meet a lot of really nice people and like that are willing to help you out. You know, and on
Yeah.
short notice. So yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. How do you restock then?
For me, the way I did it on this, which is pretty, I don't know if a lot of people do this, but like when I realized I was gonna run out of shirts, like I just call the next town or I Google, you know, t-shirt printing in Houston or whatever. Just call around until you get somebody that'll go, oh yeah, I can get it done in a day, you know. And then you either just meet them at the venue or with cash, or you know, meet them. You just find somebody near the venue that'll do it.
That is
As
nice.
far as like, yeah, as far as like if you had to get new CDs, like I know they had to, um, and or vinyl, I don't think it's possible to restock vinyl on that short notice. CDs is tricky to. You'd have to do at least like a week or two out, and you'd have to talk to your record company. Usually, is how that works.
Yeah. That's very interesting because it's like since this is like a smaller podcast, I haven't really had too many people with like labels on here yet. So it's like I
Yeah,
don't entirely know how the entire tour processing works, like restocking your merch or what if some shit just goes on. It's like, oh well, this got stolen. How are we gonna replace that? Like because as if you don't have a label, it's like, well, good luck, I guess. But I don't know if a label
it's
helps to anything like that.
they do. Yeah, labels help with touring a lot. At least mine does. And I'm sure Monuments does as well. But it depends. I mean, everybody's business process is different. Like
Yeah.
with them, they might have a merchandising deal. I'm guessing like for their t-shirts and all that. Like that's what my old band did or had, and that's the same thing. Like they'll get you stuff fast. They'll just ship it, depending on the company, but generally speaking. But as far as like CDs and vinyls go, I'd assume like I know they had reshipments a couple times, like uh yeah, I don't know. It had to be somebody at the label hooking it up.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. That's my guess,
Right.
but I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure.
Yeah. I feel like that's always not. It's like a good thing and a bad thing. It's like, crap, we're out of merch. Got to make this call or whatever and get this all sorted out. But it's a good thing too. You know, you're selling stuff. That's
Yeah,
always
it's
like
good.
a good feeling.
It's a good
too.
problem to have. It's a good
Yeah.
problem to have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like anything. Yeah, it's like anything, man. It's like you just gotta supplies. It's like supplies for
Yeah.
business. You don't want to have too many. You don't want to have just the right amount. You know.
Yeah. Right.
But
Was
yeah,
that
it's cool.
your? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
You can go ahead. You're good.
No, I'm good, man. No,
Oh,
what were you gonna say?
I was gonna ask, was that your first show you played in Iowa?
We played Iowa City as well.
What venue?
Gabe's. Which
Gabe's.
is
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Gabe's is the shit. You ever been there?
I've heard of it a lot. I have a buddy that actually goes to their open mic nights and does like, he has a looper pedal and he does like neo soul stuff. And yeah, so I've been meaning to get down there and go check him out sometime. That's like every other week. But I've been to Blue Moose Tap House before they shut that down. And then another big venue over there is Wildwood. That's where Lorna Shore went, Fit for an Autopsy, Eye of the Breather. Those bands.
Is that right downtown, like by Gabe's? I think I walked into that.
Wildwood is closer to 80 than,
okay.
So it's kind of on the outskirts of Iowa City. It's actually it's like this old saloon looking place, but they have 2 layers to it. And I would say if you can get booking there, best food in Iowa City. I'm not even joking you, dude.
Dude, I'm pretty sure I walked in there with Jimmy. I'm like almost positive. Yeah, from what you're describing, it sounds exactly like it's like a saloon, right?
Do you remember a chandelier?
Maybe not then. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe
it's
not,
so it's so silly.
It cool?
It's just so funny to see this fake chandelier up above you in the mosh pit when like some deathcore's going on. But
that's
no,
funny, man.
Yeah, they have awesome wings, awesome curds if that's your thing. But
that sounds great.
Yeah, we got about 7 minutes left. So if there's anything else you want to push out, or any message you want to spread to the world, or any questions you have or want to talk about.
Oh man, no, I appreciate you having me on, man. It was really nice. Nice of you to reach out, and it was cool meeting you at the show. So
yeah,
I'm glad
dude.
we ended up actually getting to finish it up, and do it. So it's so nice to meet you, bro.
Yeah, it was nice to meet you too. Do you have any new music and plans for your solo project?
Yep, I'm doing a new record in November. We're starting to record it. I'm doing it with Nick Sampson. He's the producer. He's done a lot of the Polyphia stuff.
Nice.
So we're working on it. Yeah, we're starting to do the pre-production now. So yeah, so hopefully that'll be out early next year. I don't have a release date yet, but we're doing a whole new record.
What does he do for them?
He's their engineer. He produced their first album, but he still works with them engineering. He's produced a lot of their stuff, but he's a sick guitar player.
Yeah,
they're an amazing musician.
Their sound engineering is tight. And I didn't know that was him. So it's like you're not. I wouldn't say lucky. I'd just say very fortunate to have him in your corner, because he's
great. Yeah. It's my first time working with him. The last song I just put out called Spellbound, it was my first time working with him. And it's been really cool being able to bounce ideas off him and try something new. So yeah, he's a really, really good musician and a really talented producer and a good dude. So I'm looking forward to it, man. We're hitting the studio in November, so that's what's coming next.
That's gonna be tight, dude. If you want to come back on the podcast and tease some stuff, or when you do your album release, so what I've been talking about with other bands and stuff is like, so when they push out like a new album, and because it's like I love listening to new stuff, but I also like hearing the interpretation a musician has for when they're putting out new music. So if you want to come back, and I don't know what your label allows, but if I could do like a live listen through, and I don't know how it'd be, but you could be on here as I'm doing the live listen through and like make comments as I'm like listening to it. Like, oh, for this part, this is actually like really tricky to record, or this was kind of like a last minute type thing. I like little stuff like that. It's like a post edit documentary.
Let's do it. I'm down, man. I'll come back on anytime, man. That sounds great. Yeah, I'll be sure to send it to you too when it's all done.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. I'd love hearing it.
Be great, man. We'll do it again.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you being on, and we will cut it here, man. I appreciate you.
Awesome. Hey, nice to meet you, Ryan.
Nice to meet you, too. Yeah, cheers.
Be good, man. Talk
you
soon.
You too.